Because to me, business is a staying game. You only fail when you give up. I co-founded my own SaaS business that's been profitable since day one and never raised any funds or side investment to grow. And we've been growing organically for the past 15 years. I saw the mistake that they're making is quitting their job too soon. That is why the approach that I've designed, they just need to dedicate 5 hours per week to start validating that their idea actually works. You're already a founder. You have the idea, you are thinking about it, you start talking to people, you're already a founder. In American culture, it's all about taking risks, you go for it. The Eastern European culture is all about being risk averse and having a plan B. So many unexpected things can happen, so you can only count on yourself.
Welcome back to Founders in Jeans. I'm your host, Emily Jean. And before we get into the episode, I just want to say a huge thank you so much for listening to my podcast. It means the world to me. I also wanted to say that if you enjoy the show, feel free to leave a review on Spotify or Apple, wherever you're listening to this, and also to follow us. You can follow us on Spotify, of course. You can follow us on Instagram at Founders in Jeans. You can also find me on Instagram at emily.jeans, or you can look me up on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to connect with people on there, and I have a lot of good conversations from listeners. Also, you can always leave a bad review for us. I'm totally fine with that. And in fact, I think that's exciting. I would love to know what we can do to improve. So you can also leave comments below and let me know what you enjoyed, what you didn't enjoy. I actually do read every single one. We also have a newsletter that comes out once a week, so you can get all the updates from us. We also put in some weekly business and marketing updates in there, as well as some personal notes from me. You can subscribe to that on my LinkedIn, also through the Instagram and in the show notes below. Anyways, that is all from me. I'm so excited for you to listen to this episode. I hope it's a good one, and I'll chat to you soon. Bye. Ksenia Votinova-Arnaud of LeVPN. Welcome to Founders in Jeans. I am so excited to have you today. So, for people who have not heard of you yet, why don't you give a little bit of a background about yourself?
Yes, thank you, Emily, and thank you so much for having me on this podcast. I hope it's going to create a lot of value for your listeners, and I'm really excited. And so, as you said, my name is Ksenia, and I am a tech entrepreneur and a certified business coach. I co-founded my first tech business, LeVPN, or LeVPN as Americans call it, 15 years ago. It's actually turning 15 this November. And it's a SaaS business that's been profitable since day one and never raised any funds or side investment to grow. And we've been growing organically for the past 15 years. And I'm very proud of this business. And it also got me on a path and on a mission to try to replicate the success that I had building my own tech company and help other women do the same thing. So this is what got me on my business coaching path, working with women in tech who want to start their own tech businesses outside of and eventually find an exit plan from their corporate job. And this is what I do now. I'm on a mission to help 10,000 women in tech build resilient and profitable 10 businesses and reclaim their life on their own terms.
I love it. Such a good bio. So many things to cover today. So I want to dive straight in. You have worn so many hats. You're currently wearing so many hats, from tech entrepreneur, MBA, business coach. How do you typically introduce yourself at a dinner party? What is the biggest thing you are focused on right now?
Well, I have two proud moments. My biggest proud moment is obviously my own tech company that's been around for 15 years. And I usually start saying that I work in tech and I am a woman in tech because this is how I identify. And that I co-founded my own SaaS business. But then I quickly dive into what I'm really passionate about right now. And I've been on this mission for the last 3 years of really helping women in tech build something like what I've built myself. Because I believe that experienced women who've been working in a tech environment for a while they don't need more knowledge or experience to start something on their own. They just need this a proven path that they can follow, a step-by-step plan, and a validated system to make sure that they're not leaving their corporate career for something that will not work. Like they want a proof that whatever they will be starting and leaving their career for will actually work. So that is my mission, and that is what I love doing right now. And I created my own system based on my experience as a tech entrepreneur and also my experience working for INSEAD Business School, where I coach executives on business strategy, which I call the Weatherproof Business, which to me is building a business which is profitable and resilient by design.
Yeah. I love the weatherproof term. I think that's great because it really brings such like a clear picture to mind. Great storytelling in terms of the title. I want to kind of go back a little bit. What originally made you want to make the transition from corporate leadership into entrepreneurship on your own?
Yeah, good question. I was thinking about it earlier, and even though usually I love to tell the story of how I was working in Bali for somebody else, running their company, and then realize that I'm building a business and I'm building assets for somebody else who just working a couple of hours a week while I'm there working 12-hour days and, turning around this company, doubling and tripling their profits. And this is what made me realize that since I'm already doing it for somebody else, why would not do it for myself? And that was my pivoting moment of saying, I am ready. I want to start something of my own. But now reflecting back on it, I think it started even before because I come from a family of entrepreneurs. I've
Mm,
had role models as my mom and as my dad who was starting their own businesses in the 90s when Russia, where I was born, turned from communist system with
mhm,
planned economy into open economy, and where people like my parents who were aviation engineers who had very good jobs in the Soviet times in engineering bureaus found themselves without salary and without income for months and sometimes for years. And most of their friends and colleagues, they just stayed in those jobs, waiting for those cash to flow in at some point.
mhm,
And my parents were among the brave ones who said, no, we're taking charge and we're going to create something of their own. So I saw the experience of building companies, employing people, building something which is purpose driven, that gave jobs to people, but also created some value. And their very first business was in the textile manufacturing. And they were just manufacturing sweaters for the cold
mm,
Russian winters. So I had that in the back of my hand, I had, I think, for a very long time, ever since I was growing up. But I think as many people and many women I'm talking to, I found myself thinking, wow, but I need more experience and I probably need
mm,
a business degree. So I did an MBA, but I think we're never truly ready. It's just the moment of decision when you
mhm.
say, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah. I love too what you're touching on about being from Russia and watching your parents build their own businesses. I think too something interesting point I'd like to add, having now spoken to, a decent amount of founders, there is really a different mindset from Western cultures and how people from Eastern Europe are building businesses. There is such a strong element of resilience, I think you see
Mhm.
behind these businesses that is not as often cultivated in places like the US. I want to ask you, so what did building that company in the early days teach you about resilience?
Yeah. I think you touched on a great point about maybe the differences in the Western and Eastern approach to building businesses and to resilience. It got me thinking that in the Western and American culture, it's all about taking risks. You go for it, you take chances. And maybe the Eastern European culture is all about being risk averse and having a plan B, because what the history taught us is, so many unexpected things can happen. So you can only count on yourself. And I think it's probably one of the reasons. probably the key reason why I built a business the way I did for LeVPN and why I created this weatherproof business formula, which is also all about resilience. So if I go back to the story of LeVPN, what it taught me about resilience, definitely there were a lot of unexpected moments. Because one thing is working in corporate while you have processes, systems, resources, partners, everything is available to you. And a different story when you're starting from scratch. As a one-person team, or we were a two-person team, my co-founder and I, and there were so many surprises in things that we would not anticipate and we would not expect. So I think what it taught us is always have a plan B, as simple as never have just one bank account for your company.
Mhm.
Have two, because if something goes wrong with one, at least you have the other one and you can accept payments. Or always have a plan B in everything when it's related to the product, when it's related, payments, client service. I mean, we had so many moments, especially in the early days, where it would sound really silly, as silly as a website going down
Right.
because, I don't know, a credit card that expired and we forgot to update it. But that could completely make us lose the whole business
Right.
because people come to our website, they cannot make the payment, or the same thing would happen to in the back end of the product. They
Mhm.
cannot connect to our app, and these are silly things that you can overlook, but they can kill your business in the early days. And it was all about anticipating those risks,
Mhm.
which is easy to say. When I work for INSEAD Business School, we always in our strategies we say, do the risk mitigation plan
Mhm.
anticipate risks? But the
Mhm.
question is, when you're starting your own business, how do you even know what those risks are?
Right.
Like, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
So it's a lot of, dealing with fires and being
Mhm.
available 24/7 until you get that experience of figuring out all the different things that can go wrong. And
Right.
I think nobody can teach you that.
Right.
You just have to go through this.
Right.
But if I were to sum up my takeaways from that early days, that would be anticipating risks
Mhm.
and kind of try to figure out what could go wrong if things went wrong and have a plan B for those. And then just approach your business, as you said, Eastern European way,
Mhm.
build it for resilience. I work with a lot of startups and a lot of founders, and I see that a lot of them are concerned about raising funds and getting that next investment for the company to grow. But the things that I'm not really considering is how to make that company actually profitable. Because
Mhm.
if you're in the business of constantly raising funds and chasing money, it's not really a resilient business. So for me, building resilience by design is to think, okay, how can my business be profitable from day one? Maybe I'm overspending here, or maybe I'm overcomplicating things.
Mhm.
Maybe I'm not ready to have a bigger team if we cannot be profitable and sustainable with a smaller one.
Mhm.
And of course, it's about risk taking. Like, you cannot really grow if you're not taking any risks, but they need to be really calculated.
In terms of thinking about trying to help people prevent risks who might be listening to this, who are, you know, starting their own business for the first time, would you say that is the most common mistake, or do you have another one that you see fairly often that entrepreneurs are facing?
Yeah, I would think another big mistake is putting all eggs in one basket. And I work with a lot of women in tech, right, who are thinking about quitting their corporate job to start something of their own because they just got to that stage of their life when they want to build something around their passion and something that would allow them to leave the legacy. But I saw the mistake that they're making is quitting their job too soon, thinking, okay, I'm ready, I'm going to go all in. And then they go all in into something that they're not sure yet if
Mm.
that will work. So that is why the approach that I've designed working with them is that they just need to dedicate 5 hours per week to start validating that their idea actually work. As we say in business school, the product market fit,
Mm.
or in simpler terms, that whatever you're building, there's actually people who want it and need it and want to pay for it. And that it's not just another product that is good to have. It's not a vitamin, it's a drug. It's a medicine that people need because it solves an actual problem. So the process I take my clients through is figuring out what the problem is and actually going and speaking to real people to understand that this is a problem and getting that validation from them in order to be able to turn their just vague idea into a product, an offer with a
Mhm.
wait list of customers, because those people they spoke to initially to try to understand if that's even a problem, if they nail the problem, they will be on their waiting list because they will want it solved.
Mm.
And that approach allows you to keep your corporate job while you're building this. And then once you have the certainty that your deal works and you can see that there's people who are willing to pay for it, then you can start building it out and then progressively find your exit plan from the corporate.
Mhm.
So that's what usually what I advise women in tech. But I think there's also, if I could add one more point, I think
Mhm.
about the mindset. And
Mm.
I'm a business coach, right? I'm not supposed to to talk about mindset, but I working with over 1,000 people at this point, I see that it comes up a lot, no matter how high up you are on the executive ladder or if you're already an experienced founder. It's all about this mindset shift, especially when you're moving from corporate into entrepreneurship. And in one of the last client conversations with my clients, we came to this topic of when they realize that when they're building something, they feel like, wow, but this is just like a hobby. I'm just, building something. I'm still in this mindset of an executive, of a corporate employee. How can I even go and talk to people about this business idea? And the shift that they realized that they needed to make was to understand that even though it's still an idea, it's still in your draft, it's still maybe in your Google Drive,
Mhm.
you're already a founder
Mm.
because it already exists.
Right.
Even though you did not take it to the market yet, you didn't take it to the universe in any kind of tangible and physical format that you can show, it's already there.
Right.
You have the idea, you are thinking about it, you start talking to people, you're already a founder.
Mhm.
It's like, when exactly do you call yourself a founder?
Yeah.
When you have a successful exit, or when you hire your first employee, or when you register your company? I mean,
Mhm.
these are just formalities.
Right.
To me, you're a founder when you made that decision.
I want to ask you then, because we've spoken a little bit about people who are building their own businesses for the first time, but you've also coached people from companies that are in companies like Google and Adobe, which are huge companies. Talk to me, what are leaders who are at that level, which I would argue is not your average entrepreneur, what are they still struggling with?
It's a great question. I work with a lot of executives and through my work at INSEAD Business School, and they usually come there to work on business strategy projects or create some kind of innovation for the company, which to me is very similar to building a new business. Like, you're building a new business line, you're pitching a new project
Mhm.
that has a beginning where it doesn't exist, and
Mhm.
then the end where you can actually, gonna put the team together and make it happen. And the main thing there everybody's struggling with, every single executive I work with, is trying to identify what is exactly the problem that they're solving. They all come with this very broad and vague ideas of digital transformation of something super huge, and they have trouble to articulate what exactly is the value in that. What is the challenge? What is the problem? Like, why would you even do this project? And it usually takes us at least 50% of our coaching time just to figure out what is it that they're trying to achieve. And once they understand that, they have just like this click, this moment of
Yeah.
insight of like, now I understand. Now I understand what exactly needs to be done. So, and this is very powerful, and it's very much relevant to entrepreneurship as well.
Mhm.
When it comes to trying to understand what your business is going to be about, it's all about understanding that problem that you want to solve.
Yeah.
Sounds very simple, but it's not at all simple.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
not easy at all.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Those are always the tricky things, the ones that sound simple and that they're simply not.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time because I want to do some rapid fires before we wrap up. To begin with, my first question is, what do you think is the most underrated skill in entrepreneurship?
I think it's persistence because
Mm,
to me, business is a staying game. You only fail when you give up.
mm,
And while you still keep going and when you still have that persistence, you're still in business.
love that. Great answer. Is there one business rule that you think is not true or needs to die?
Yeah, I actually talk about it all the time in my master classes.
Mm.
It's the saying where they say, build it and they will come. And it's absolutely not true. Not true. But a lot of people believe that and they're
Yeah.
still trying to build these products and investing thousands of dollars into building tech that
Hmm.
nobody's ever going to use.
Yeah, completely. I think people get that wrong a lot is I'll see founders or entrepreneurs who their first thing they do is they build a website. I'm like,
Mm,
why? You have no audience, you have no market fit, you have no community. Nobody's going to find it. The internet is
yeah,
not what it used to be.
I know.
What is one tech tool that you can't live without?
Okay. I'm ashamed to say it, but it's my ChatGPT.
That is completely fair. Makes total sense.
ChatGPT everywhere.
Yes, yes. Okay, what is one piece of advice you'd give your younger founder self?
I would say don't think that you have all the answers and
Mm,
go and look for people who can mentor you or who can coach you and who've been there before, who are just maybe a few steps ahead of you.
mm,
Because when I started my first tech business 15 years ago, I mean, I had an MBA, I had like an executive six-figure role just before running a business for somebody else. I thought I knew it all.
hmm.
Now looking back, I was like, oh my God, I was such a baby. I wish, like, I listened to all these people who were reaching out to me and saying, Ksenia, can I mentor you? I
Mhm.
can really help you. I was like, no, I don't need, what can you teach me? You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So now I would say, oh my God, like if I were to accept any of or like look for mentors who were a
Mhm,
few steps ahead of me, who
mhm.
could help me avoid some of the painful mistakes that we've made,
Yeah,
we would go so much faster.
love it. Perfect transition then. I'd like to ask you my final question. Is there a book or a resource or a course or anything like that you can recommend to budding entrepreneurs?
Book or a source or a course, I would say it depends on what is it they're looking for. I've been
Mm.
recently recommending a lot all the Alex Hormozy books
Oh,
because I feel like he's just distilling all that information, all that complicated knowledge from the business schools into very simple terms that even a
right,
5-year-old can understand.
right.
So that would definitely be a good start to get
Mhm,
that snapshot of what is it that you need to be doing to create your offer, to get first clients. And then there's another book that I recently read that I felt like, wow, it also summarizes a lot of the things that I teach my clients and also would teach in business schools. I think it's a $10 million weekend
oh, okay, okay.
or a
That's
$1 million weekend. I'm
that
not
sounds
exactly
great.
sure.
These are
It's a
great
family book.
recommendations. Yeah. Well, Ksenia, I'm so glad that I got to have you on the podcast. Where can people follow you and where can people find you?
Yeah. Well, the best thing to find me is LinkedIn.
Mhm.
So just connect with me and find my name, Ksenia Votinova-Arnaud. And I create daily content for my audience, women in tech, with different tips on starting a business and share the different resources that I've built. And if you're not on LinkedIn, you can also go to my website, kseniavotinova.com, where I also share my different free resources that I created for entrepreneurs. And I often host free masterclasses. So you can find my next dates for my masterclass on the website as well.
Great. And all of that will be linked in the show notes too, of course. But thank you so much, Ksenia. This has been a great episode. I'm so excited for people to hear this.
Thank you so much, Emily.
Of course.